We left Musgrave Roadhouse to continue our trek north. We didn't get far down the road when we stumbled across this really blue quarry.
It was so blue. We quickly sent the drone up to get a few shots, then continue on.
Now on our trip, we decided to try and not do the same roads up as we would do coming back down. So we chose to do all the East Coast tracks heading up. This meant we jumped on the track which passes through Running Creek and Port Stewart.
There were lots of cattle on the track, a few small water crossings, and a handful of gates to open and close while passing through.
We did run into a little bit of traffic after Running Creek. We did make it to Port Stewart, but there wasn't much there, and we didn't like the vibe, so quickly turned around and continued on the track towards Coen.
With this intersection, both ways led to Coen, one south of Coen and one in the middle of Coen. The last 20 kilometres of the track was fun. Small crossings, twisting and turning roads, and some decent washouts to manoeuvre through.
Before we knew it, we were in Coen, headed straight to the free camp just north of town. We found a nice spot to nestle in and got the fire going to cook dinner. Amy's even made some fresh bread, which smelt and tasted delicious.
After 2 days of rest in Coen, it was time for our first stretch of PDR. It was heavily corrugated, as to be expected. The best bits were on the edges of the track, where it was a more enjoyable ride.
We only did about an hour, and then we were at the Archer River Roadhouse. It was lunchtime, so I ordered the famous Archer burger, and Ames got a chicken burger.
Our next stop of the trip was the Batavia Goldfields. There was old machinery from the gold rush days, which was pretty cool.
So we came across this massive rut on the right hand side of the track. The rut was a good half a metre drop off, so we couldn't just go straight through it. The only way to go forward was to climb the bank on the left hand side, but even this proved difficult with the Caravan.
We decided the only way would be to chip away at the bank to make it more level for us to get up. Happy days!
You can camp in the Goldfields, so we found a nice spot to set up for the night. There were plenty of firewood around, which meant for a great fire.
We put the drone up for a look at the tracks, as we wanted to take a different track out the next day. Well, what looked like a relatively easy track turned into an adventurous morning.
So the first challenge was getting out of our campsite. not too difficult. Next, we came across this large washout. Boy, that wasn't fun. Lucky we have an off-road caravan which doesn't mind a few love taps here and there.
Might be too bad.
What was more impressive was our bikes on the bike rack. Hindsight, we should have taken them off, but hey, they survived and they're not expensive bikes, so we didn't mind. Beautiful, mate.
Still on?
Yep.
Now, this situation, which looked easy, turned out to be a bit of a challenge. This spot caught us off guard a bit, and the disadvantage with having a caravan is that you can't always reverse. Sometimes it's best to just keep on going forward. This specific spot was made up of soft sand, so traction was an issue. Also, the rut on the right hand side, which wanted to swallow the Navara whole. To counter this rut, I set up the winch, and to keep the left hand side of the Navara down, while slowly maintaining traction to pull me up.
It's never good to put the caravan in this situation, but we're fortunate to have a well-built caravan that can handle it if needed. As you can see, the tandem wheels on the caravan were helping it out a lot with its stability.
Even though we were travelling with Baz and Am, we made it a point to get ourselves out of these sticky situations, and as a last resort to use the help of others. This is so we know our own limitations, and it's also good to practice different recovery techniques.
So, we did make it out of the rut and off the track. Boy, wasn't that an adventure. We continued on to Chilli Beach as we wanted to have a look.
Now, Chilli Beach was full of rubbish. This was because some of the ways the wind, tides and the ocean work. All this rubbish was from Indonesia, and it washes up on this beach. It was very sad to see all of this pollution.
You can see people trying to clean up parts and upcycling some of the rubbish to create items. Kurt found a long piece of rope that we adopted.
It was then time to check out Fruitback Falls. We trekked back to the PDR and shot straight up to the falls. The weather wasn't the best, but you could still see how magical they were.
Next stop was all aboard the Jardine ferry. Toot toot! Getting so close to the tip. Next stop was Bamiga.
We stopped for a few groceries before continuing north. There were so many stray dogs around the township of Bamiga.
There was one last stop before the tip, the popular croc tent. Check out the nav in the van, just a tad dirty. We grabbed a few souvenirs before starting the final 15 kilometre stretch to the tip.
Excitement levels were increasing as we knew we were getting close.
So we made it to the top. It was getting late, so we opted to head straight to camp and visit the infamous sign in the morning.
Lucky we opted for that, as we got pretty bogged and the winch had to come out again.
The sand bog was a good 60 to 70 mil deep of complete soft sand. We did eventually get ourselves out and in position. Put our feet up, a fire going, and sat back reflecting on our epic journey up.
The next day was blue skies, so we walked from our campsite all the way to the tip sign.
Ew! Can't believe we made it, all in one piece.
What a great adventure. We were stoked to make it all the way to the top. But there is still many more adventures to be had on our journey back down.
Hope you enjoyed our Cape York Adventure Part 2. Be sure to subscribe to see what other adventures we get up to around Oz.